there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rachel, the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Today is a Saturday and boy, it's been kind of a weird week. I don't know what happened to my time this week, but for whatever reason, I ended up with 2 projects completed for today's video, even though I have probably 4 others that are either halfway done or 2/3 of the way done that I just couldn't get over the finish line in time for today. So they will be in a future video. But for today's video, I did get 2 projects completed. I think they turned out really cute. So without further ado, let's get to the projects that I got done. My first project for today is this little copper colored chicken planter that I picked up a while back at Goodwill. Now, this thing was pretty cute the way that it was originally, but it had some damage. There were some scuff marks and some scratches in the copper paint that was on it. So I decided to give it a makeover. So I'm starting with a good coat of Rustoleum 2X spray in white, just to give this a good clean base coat. Once that was done and completely dry, I'm going in with DIY's beautiful cottage color called Ameraucana, which is one of my favorites. And I am going to be giving this little chicken 2 good coats of that paint on the inside and the outside. A few great things about the cottage colors are that they're still a clay-based paint. However, they include a built-in sealer, so there's no need for waxing or a top coat once you're done painting. The other thing is they are self-leveling, so you get a very smooth surface once you're done with no brushstroke marks. And they are also very, very scratch resistant once they're dry and cured. And it takes about 30 days for the paint to completely cure. While my little chicken was drying, I went through my drawer of transfer scraps and found one called Blush Blossoms that I still had some pieces of, and I began cutting those out to use on the sides of my chicken. Now, the thing I love about these Redesign transfers is that you can layer them one on top of another. You just need to start with your background transfer first and lay that down and then work your way up from there. So I'm just applying the big rows first and then working on the layers that go on top of it, just one at a time. Now, the thing I like about these cottage colors is that it is an absolute dream to add transfers to. So these went down very, very easily. And you can see here, I'm just figuring out where I want them, laying them down, rubbing them in with that transfer stick, peeling back that piece of vellum, and then I just kind of burnish them in a little bit with my finger to make sure that they're laid down completely before I add any more. Once I finished with this side of the chicken, I went ahead and turned it over and worked on the other side as well, just using up all these scraps that I have of this transfer set. Now, it's always good practice to seal your transfers in with something to keep them protected. And since I had to seal the transfers, I went ahead and put the seal coat all over the outside of the chicken just so that I had one cohesive finish on it. And for the top coat, I'm using Sweet Pickins top coat in matte. Once that's done and dry, this little chicken is finished, and I absolutely love the way it came out. Now you guys will probably recognize this cute little piece from my latest junk run. And when I bought it, I really didn't know exactly what its purpose was. So I asked you guys to let me know in the comments of that video what you thought it was used for. And many of you told me that it's a little potato bin. And that really made sense to me. So I am going to give this little potato bin a makeover. And I'm starting by giving it a bath. It was pretty dusty. And I'm just using some Krud Kutter to get it nice and clean, and then following that up with some clean water to help rinse off any Krud Kutter residue that might have been left behind. I also went ahead and removed the hardware and set that aside so that I could make sure that the entire piece was nice and clean. Once my little potato bin was clean and rinsed and dry and all the hardware removed, it was finally time for some paint. Now, I'd already decided that I wanted to keep this piece relatively neutral. I wanted something that would transition well from summer into fall if it needed to. And this color of paint was perfect for the transfer set that I'd already picked out. And this is called Truffle. It's by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. And it's a pretty kind of mushroom color, a little bit brown, a little bit gray, and just the perfect background for the transfer set that I'm going to be using. Now for this piece, I did add Extra Bond to my paint. The sides and the top of this are pretty slick, and I really didn't want my paint chipping back off again. I thought I got really good coverage with the first coat of paint, but you can see here as I'm putting the second coat on that there was still quite a bit of that dark wood showing from underneath. And even after the second coat, there was still a few shadows of that wood kind of shining through. So I did end up putting a third coat on this piece. Once my third coat was done and completely dry, I took my little potato bin outside and did some sanding. I'm going over it with some 220 grit sandpaper on my rotary sander on its lowest setting. And mostly I am just trying to smooth out any chunks left behind and just make sure that I have a nice even surface. And I'm also doing just a little bit of distressing to bring some of that beautiful dark wood rich tone out from underneath the paint. I also went ahead and gave the hardware a nice fresh coat of paint along with the screws. I just poked those into a random piece of cardboard and painted just the heads of them because they all show. And then I set all of that aside to dry. Then I gave my little potato bin a good wipe down with a damp shop towel to get it ready for transfers. Before I started applying my transfers, I went ahead and reattached my door just so that I could put the transfers on the door while it was actually attached to the piece so that I had a better idea of how everything was going to look together. The transfer set I'm using for this little potato bin is called Secret Garden, and you can see it is a very neutral transfer set. Lots of creams and browns and greens, and that's kind of why I picked it. Just a beautiful set that, again, I think will go from summer right into fall. Now, as usual, I went ahead and pre-arranged my transfers to make sure I liked how they looked together. And then I just began applying them one by one, first to the front of the door, and then to the drawer front, and then a few to the top as well. One crucial step to applying transfers is to make sure that they're burnished in, which is basically the process of ensuring that they are completely adhered to your piece. Sometimes I use my fingers if the transfers are small, but for the most part, I like to grab a piece of the vellum from the transfers and rub that over the tops just to make sure that I don't have any wrinkles or air bubbles and that everything is applied correctly. Once that was done, it's finally time to seal my piece. Sweet Pickins milk paint, kind of like DIY paint, does require a sealer. And sometimes I like to use their oil waxes, but in this case, I decided to go with a coat of DIY's clear wax as a starting point. So I am just brushing that all over this piece with my soft bristle brush, applying it in a nice thin, even layer, and then wiping back the excess with a dry shop towel. Once I'd finished with the clear wax, I went ahead and grabbed out my DIY dark wax to add some of that to this piece as well. I started by adding it to this little groove in the top and then wiping that back with a dry shop towel. And then once that was done, I grabbed out some mineral spirits and dipped my brush in the mineral spirits and then dabbed it into the dark wax and then added that very, very thin wax to my piece. This allows me to really move the wax around well, and it makes the dark wax not quite so muddy, and it leaves just kind of a nice, beautiful patina behind. So I go over the entire piece with that very thinned out dark wax, just rubbing it in with my little painter's brush there, and then very gently wiping back the excess with a dry shop towel. I did this to the entire piece, going over the cracks and anywhere that I wanted more of a shadow with a little bit heavier wax. And then for the larger areas, just again, going over those with the thinner wax. dark wax and I was happy with how my piece was looking. It was time to reattach my hinges, add my hardware back to the drawer, and pick out a knob for the front of the door. Then this little potato bin was finally finished. I think it is so cute. I'm very happy with how it came out, and I really hope you guys like it too. I think that's it from here for today, you guys. I hope you liked the couple of projects that I did manage to get done for today's video, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate that. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and then just hit the little notification bell so you don't miss anything. And then of course, don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of the end result of my two projects for today's video. I just love it when life kind of throws you for a little bit of a loop, and this was one of those weeks where it just seems like I could not catch up. And so I'm really hoping that for, for Wednesday's video, I will be able to complete a few more of the projects that I already have started and have those for you on Wednesday. So I hope you'll join me back here for that. Just a quick reminder too, the paint and products you see me use in my videos can be purchased through my website. And I do have both of the transfer sets in stock that I use today. And that is www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com. It's listed below in the description box as well. I carry DIY paint and products, which I do have an order coming. I carry Sweet Pickins milk paint and products, and just remember that the color of the month for June is going to be ending on the 30th, and that is Scarlet. And then we will have an all new color of the month for July, and that will be Kent by Sweet Pickins. It's one of the new bespoke colors. And then I also carry some Recycled Treasures decoupage papers. She just came out with some beautiful new ones that I have ordered. And then of course Redesign with Prima, and that new release should be shipping soon, and I'm hoping to have it in my hot little hands in July, and I will show you all of the new products as soon as I can. Anyway, like I said, for Wednesday's video, I'm hoping to get some of these half-started projects finished, so I hope you'll join me for that. Until then, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend and beginning of the week. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I will see you back here on Wednesday. Bye.